Live from the studio of his parents' basement, the Have You Seen It podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Have You Seen It podcast. My name is Mason Knight. Sitting across from me is the one and only Cash Kraus. But before we begin, if you guys could please be sure to smash that like button, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification as we drop videos here every single day. So with that said, Cash, what are we reviewing today?
Today we are reviewing, I haven't said it in a while. This will be Namaste Friday, right?
Well, it's typically on Wednesday.
Namaste Wednesday, that's how long it's been.
It is. It's been a long time. I believe that the foreign film Fridays, Namaste Wednesday.
I was getting those mixed up.
But now there's some more controversy within this podcast. That's one thing with our Indian audience. There's always controversy brewing.
Of course.
I guess Namaste, depending on what region, you're going to have to say a different greeting. And some people very, very not happy about Namaste Wednesday. So I just, at this point, what will we call this?
Well, I think we have to stick with Namaste.
We're just going to have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be like me going to say aloha somewhere else. No one's going to be like, hey, hold up. We're not in a
We don't say aloha here. Yeah, no.
So I think we'll stick with Namaste Wednesday. We can't appease everyone.
No,
and
but
there's
you know
so
what?
many different cultures.
We do love them. They always
sects and
keep
tribes in India that it's too much. We can't.
They always keep us on our toes.
So for now, we'll say Namaste Wednesday. Namaste, it's just a greeting.
It is. It's a greeting.
Could
Don't
be
take it so
meaning anything.
serious.
Yeah, I know.
Gosh.
But we are doing the newest. Well, not the newest. I'm sure films have come out since then, but pretty new film coming out of India. Sardar Udham.
Yes.
A biographical film about the freedom fighter Udham, who's his name's Udham Singh.
Yes, it is. Udham Singh.
In real life, right. It's about him, a freedom fighter from Punjab, who assassinated Michael O'Dwyer, and that O'Dwyer was a bastard.
He was an evil piece of shit.
Yeah, I don't feel too bad, honestly.
No, I'm actually I'm Team Udham here.
It was the other people that he shot. And I'm thinking, well, I'm okay where we at with
But, he shot Michael, 3 times. I would have enjoyed seeing another 9 rounds into that old piece of
To be
shit.
fair, I probably could assume anyone in that room could have been shot. I mean, I'm sure they all
did horrific evil acts.
Sure, they're all going to be brought up on war crimes.
Yeah,
so
you bring one piece of shit in, they're probably all pieces of shit on that stage.
Oh,
so.
you can't throw a piece of
too
paper in that room without hitting a terrorist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, So, had he had an AR-15, he could have killed at least 30 more people. We know that. We know that for a fact.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, come on. But luckily for
had it been
there,
children in that room, he could have killed 60 with an AR. We know it's even more because, unfortunately, firsthand.
Yeah.
But 1940, revolvers, you can only shoot so many bullets, but he got the job done.
You got it done.
What I appreciate about this movie, it dove right into that too. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't long before we got him shooting O'Dwyer.
But what I liked about that is they showed the assassination first without giving you context and reason as to why. Unless you're a history buff, unless you went through, or in India.
I'm sure they
obviously.
probably all know.
They all know. But what I'm saying is, like, for your average audience, you probably weren't super familiar with the story. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I was, because up until this film came out, I had no idea. But, you look at that and you go, okay, now why was this person assassinated? Was Udham, was he in the right here? And then when you get the story, when you get the context, it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, well, you really have no idea, obviously, because it doesn't show anything. But, you have no idea of why he killed this guy. But you got a pretty good feeling it was justified.
It was justified, yeah, for some reason. I mean,
I feel like 1940s London, like, this guy wasn't, like... he wasn't being treated unfairly. I got a feeling O'Dwyer.
Yeah,
I got a feeling he was, But yeah, exactly right. That's how the story plays out, is we get that right at the start, and then from there on out, we get the unfolding of everything that happens. And it jumps from 1940 to 1917?
Well, yeah. I mean, it jumps
Is that when the massacre happened?
Years. I mean, we even see him at the SS... What?
1919 was when the massacre happened.
Yes.
So it jumps from 1919 to
to 1940s to 1930s with the USSR. with him traveling through there. I believe that was like mid-30s.
Yeah, didn't think I'd see the USSR, but
no, but
they were everywhere in the
yes,
30s and 40s. They got all their fucking little Russian hands in a lot of pots. But yeah, that's where everyone goes to get radicalized.
Well, he went there basically to get back to London, or to get to London, rather. Which then, I love that development in that story where we inevitably find out through, and this is what they kept doing. They kept bouncing back and forth between like his lived experiences and obviously him getting interrogated while being captive after assassinating Michael O'Dwyer.
Which, when I saw that, I kind of thought, hey, I think I know where India got their interrogation tactics from.
I think it was from Great Britain.
They took it from the motherland.
From London.
Yeah, I think they. I think that's one thing that was left over there in India when the English left was their interrogation.
The interrogation tactics.
Pretty similar. Some whipping going on.
Some beating, some waterboarding.
Yeah, which we've all seen throughout film in India. We've seen all those techniques be used from police for sure. So I thought, hey, maybe they did learn one useful thing from the English. Yeah. That was how to fucking torture people. Because, man, are they good at it.
They do a good job in this film. I felt real bad for Udham.
But yeah, that's definitely what I thought was, it was definitely brutal, especially the scenes, the prison scenes for sure. Because he's just it's literally 2 hours of him being tortured.
Yeah, a lot of it's being tortured and then interrogated. And, one of these guys, he kind of likes him, but he doesn't really understand why until you get into, like, the meat of the story, into the third act, which do we want to jump into now, or do we want to talk more about the build-up and
setup? Well, one thing I do want to talk about is the length of this film before we get into the
and that's why I asked that question specifically, because I agree with you.
I think this film would have done so much better as like a miniseries, a 3-part miniseries, where you can have 1 hour full length. Because there's for a movie, there's scenes in this film that you just wouldn't see normally in a film because it would make it too long, obviously, 2 hours and 40 minutes. But for a miniseries, you can keep every single scene in this film in a miniseries and even expand a little bit more on it. Because I could have gotten a little more of Sardar and his lawyer, and Sardar with the NRA gal and whatnot. But for a film, obviously, it was already 2 hours and 40 minutes. You had to show so much that they had. So I really think this film would have done really well as like a 3-part miniseries.
When you bring up a good point with the lawyer too, because like when you start doing your research behind this actual story, the lawyer was actually on his side, wanted to help him. But unfortunately, like there was an absolute utter chaos in the courtroom, and it ended up turning into a kangaroo court, is what they call it.
Yes,
where they just gave him the verdict right away.
Yeah, no.
They didn't even go through the legal.
It felt like we were in 15th century London, not
Burn the witch.
Not 1920. Yeah, it was very weird. Yeah, but instantly, of course. I mean, they were never going to let that guy live anyways.
Of course not.
Yeah,
but due process.
An Indian guy coming in and killing a white man, he has to fucking hang for sure. But yeah, that's what the lawyer wanted, was a little due process. And they said, guy, you don't know where you're at. No. Come on. But I wanted a little more of that. I wanted a little more of the NRA helping out. I thought that was a cool little aspect of the whole thing of a common enemy between the two, the crown and, I think very equal in sense of who's fucked with India as much as, Irish have been fucked with England as well. They have a lot of history.
Well, and too, like, I think, had this had been a mini series, you could have dived deeper. I mean, you could have had a full episode on the 42-day fast that Udham had.
Yeah, that's breezed through.
Yeah, it is breezed through. And they did the best that they could. But again, you're already dealing with a film that's damn near 3 hours.
Yeah.
So it would be really hard to further elaborate on that period in Udham's life where it was 42 days of fasting. But nonetheless, he was literally force-fed.
Of course.
He said, no more of this. Yeah. We can't have that after 42 days.
Yeah. And more of that is we could have had a lot more of like them cutting off, the media and everything. Remember, they're controlling the media the whole time.
Well, even in the courtroom, he said, the reporters, you do not report on anything that the...
They're like, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
Whatever.
Look, we weren't even listening. So.
No, we weren't. We only report what you want us to report.
Yeah. So we're good. But just these historical dramas, I mean, like, at least in the West, we almost always see them in miniseries form. Because you need a lot more time. Because in any kind of historical drama, you just need more time with... Because there's so many characters revolving. Of course, it's history. People are coming in and out. And if we had a little more time, we could have even spent more time in the flashbacks. I would like to see more of his, like... Because we get parts where he's happy and whatnot, but I don't feel like we got enough of those.
Well, and with his sister, too. She's obviously a mute, and you could tell was very influential. And I thought for the time that they had there, they did a really good job setting that up. The actor who played Vicky Kaushal, I think is a phenomenal actor. I was actually very impressed with his performance because he had a wide range throughout this film. Obviously when we talk about being the happy moments and the flashbacks to being utterly tortured in some of the other, scenes in this film, I thought he had a good range. But...
Well, you know who they originally wanted for that role?
Who?
Irfan Khan.
Give me Irfan Khan. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, Michelle, great, but Irfan Khan, come on, dude. That would have been the role of all roles for that guy. He would have took that to level 100.
I know. I love Irfan, of course, but yeah, like you said, he did do a really good job in this role, but you can't beat Irfan, can you?
No, you can't. As much as you can try.
I mean, I'll say this is a Hindi language film, but it's about 50-50 English as well. Because it's in London, obviously, but there's a large portion of it is in English. So if that's something that makes you hesitant to watching a film, then I don't know why it would, but it definitely does.
For some people, it
There's
does.
a lot of English in this, so you don't have to read too much. But yeah, it's... I liked the historical elements. I thought they did a really good job of making it. The film looked very expensive.
It did.
It had to have cost a good amount of money for sure, because they did a good job of showing two different time frames. Like the teens and then the 1940s. Yeah. I thought they did a really good job of that.
Not only that, but the cinematography was good too. The shots were really well done. There are a lot of in focus, out of focus shots, like even exterior shots that I thought they did a good job with. And I thought the editing was really good as well. Sometimes that's our biggest complaint in Indian films are some of the editing decisions are awful.
Yeah, well, this one is much more grounded.
Yes, super grounded, super like...
it's not shot like a
story.
Music video at all. And no one sings.
No one sings. Thank God we didn't have him break out in prison.
Oh, my God. That would have really... Because this is a depressing movie.
It is. I don't want a musical number for this song.
Cut that tension right now.
Yeah, for this film. No way. So thank God they didn't do that.
Yeah, I think my biggest complaint is it definitely lags in the middle like all historical dramas do, because history's a lot of waiting around. It's just not that exciting. And that is another thing of what you would get if it was a miniseries, because you would have it in pieces. So you get an hour and then you'd be like, okay, you get a week until the next one. But this one, you got to sit through it all. So it definitely does slow down in its second act. But I got to say... picks right back up in the third act.
Yeah, let's...
not even...
Wow.
Like the third act of the third act is it picks up.
So let's talk about this initial story, because it's... it's heavy. So on April 13th, 1919, at the time, it was General Dyer, right? Michael O'Dwyer.
Right.
It was General Dyer on order from O'Dwyer. Opens fire on a crowd of 20,000.
Dwyer and O'Dwyer.
Dwyer and
that
O'Dwyer.
gets super confusing, yeah.
It's like
it's
evil
in the movie.
twin
They're
brothers.
in the movie.
Yeah,
and they look a lot alike.
They do. Maybe there's some
for
weird
me,
shit
it was
going
almost
on.
confusing me in the movie where I was like, wait, is that the guy that I'm supposed to not like? Or really, you're not supposed to like anyway?
But 20,000 peaceful protesters inside Jallianwala Bagh. And obviously they were protesting and they declared martial law. And without warning, these people were peaceful sitting there. And this was some horrific shit. And this just got me so incredibly mad because you hear Dwyer, not O'Dwyer, but you hear Dwyer talking about, oh, well, I did it. This was my duty. I just follow orders. It's like you massacred all of those people. And I got to say, like, from that element right there, it's just evil and grotesque. And I was so upset watching this, being like, how could you kill innocent women and children and live with yourself?
Oh, yeah, and there's no remorse. Even at the very end, you know, when the post-credit scene, it's like a reenactment, I guess, of... He eventually had to go
to testify.
Yeah, like years
For
years
war
later.
crimes.
Yeah.
Which...
And he said had he had machine guns, he would have used those on him too.
And the casualties would have been much higher.
Yeah, because the casualties, it's very vague. It's about 150 to 1,200 is what they think. It's somewhere in between there, which 150 is insane. 1,200 is fucking crazy. Yeah. But in the movie, it makes it look like it's more than 150.
Oh, for sure.
But what initially was our main guy, Udham Singh. He was constantly being surveilled, because they were always constantly scared, and England was constantly scared of every country was going to uprise eventually. And so they were following him around. He was part of some group that was no longer a group because they wiped him out.
Right.
But they're protesters. They said no protesting at all, curfew and everything. So they heard this big group was getting together. And what it was in this area, it was essentially a kill box.
Because they blocked off all the roads.
Well, there was only one way in and out.
Yeah.
And then it was essentially a 3-dimensional, 3 sides, and then one exit. But the exit was blocked by guards. Mm-hmm. So they had nowhere to go. So it was just shooting into like shooting fish in a barrel. But yeah, so they had, even when they're surrendering, you know, when they ran towards them to get out, they were still firing. Yep. And they said the firing lasted for like 40 minutes or something. And they even bring it up in the trial. They're like, well, why did the shooting last for so long?
Yeah.
He said, if I wanted to shoot, I wanted to make sure it was effective.
Well, and it sent a message too. That's what O'Dwyer said.
And in their head, it was, they thought it essentially had
squashed the rebellion.
Which, I mean, a lot of people, what I was reading about, a lot of people was like, that was one of, I mean, of course there's many things, but that was like a kickstart of, you know, 20 years later, they got their independence. Yeah. So I don't think they squashed anything. They just delayed it. But yeah, that scene, it lasts for about 30 minutes in the movie.
It does. Let's talk about the initial shooting, because I know where you're going to go with that, and I totally agree with you. But I want to talk about
I think I know where you're going to go with that. Yes, squibs.
The squibs.
Squibs
the
are back,
work,
baby.
And even the arms blowing up, the legs.
Never have phenomenal. Guessed that they would use practical effects, because India usually does not. Usually they go CGI on everything, and unfortunately, but
this gave me like Hacksaw Ridge.
I couldn't believe that they went. I think Hacksaw Ridge even used more CGI blood than this. This all looked practical. Squibs are not cheap.
No, they're
not. They're not easy to set up.
Not the practical use of the hand too. Like even when he's holding the thing, he shoots his hand off and his hand falls, and I'm like, oh my god.
That really did surprise me. It was maybe the best practical effects I've ever seen in an Indian film, for sure.
Absolutely.
Because and it's weird to say now, especially with the whole thing going on with Ad Baldwin and whatnot, but it still looks great to me. Practical effects is the way to go, especially when you can tell when they're firing guns, it's not in post that they're creating the smoke or whatnot, is they're firing blanks. Yeah. It just looks better.
It does.
On camera. It does. A little dangerous.
And it also feels weird to say how good it looked, because you're talking about a horrific massacre. Yeah. But I mean, as far as filmmaking is concerned,
you don't want to look cheesy.
Right. And it got the message across, right, of how horrific this was. And that was the purpose behind the film, is to show you how evil Michael O'Dwyer was, to show you how evil this regime was.
The Crown was, yeah.
And the boots that stepped upon the necks of these people, and that they massacred them and murdered them. So like, as far as that is all concerned,
there's no reason to.
It's good to show
to soften
how
that
bad
up.
it is. Yeah.
If you can't show actual footage of it, then make it as realistic as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not doing the people that died a service of softening the blow, and you're definitely, if anything, you're helping out Dwyer and his the history of him, and when you're not showing, because if you soften the blow, it softens how people will view him. Yeah. So you need to know this guy was a fucking prick, and he stood there while people were being gunned down, while people were sitting down in a prone position. They weren't even standing. they were being shot, which is fucking wild.
And see, this is also that's really good too, because when you look at Udham Singh and you look at his life, but what I loved is when they would do the flashbacks, when he started talking with the investigator, kind of opening up more about like his life. He worked for Michael O'Dwyer for a time. And he had personal conversations with him, and at one point even has a handgun ready to shoot O'Dwyer.
They go hunting together.
Why didn't you? Yeah, they go hunting.
Could have Dick Cheney'd him.
Scene. He could have Dick Cheney'd him.
No one ever looks twice.
No, shot him in the ass and in the head. Whatever.
It happens.
It does happen. But
men look like birds sometimes.
They do sometimes.
Big birds
and their wingspan.
Yeah,
for sure.
Depending on what you're hunting, ostrich maybe.
Yeah. You could mistake
so
too.
Similar.
Sure.
So similar.
Oops, I just shot Michael O'Dwyer. Whoops.
Yeah, no one would have known. Then you throw the gun down, you fucking run.
Run, because you're not getting away with that.
Because you're not Dick Cheney.
Yeah, you're not Dick Cheney. You don't have that much power. No, but like he asked him, he goes, "Why not kill him there?" And he goes, had I had killed him there, it wouldn't have been a protest. It would have been a disgruntled worker. And he goes, "I didn't want that. I wanted that killing to be a protest as to what he did. I wanted to show everyone in the world what he did in 1919.
Yeah, it had to be public.
Yeah.
It had to be a really big, because it was more than a murder. And had he just murdered him on the farm, that's what it would have looked like, was just a
disgruntled
crazy
employee.
Exactly, yeah. So it had to be a statement, right? And he
imagine,
he murdered him in the front of everyone. I mean,
right, but imagine the constraint of that man. His sister died. People he knew died. Massacred because of him. And he had enough composure not to fucking put 100 rounds in this asshole.
I think I would too. Home. Yeah, I think I'd make it really... And also, even then, I'd want it to be slow, too. And,
shoot him in the foot, let him bleed out a little bit.
Let him rock around a little bit. Yeah,
heal him up
so
and then shoot him again.
So if you are going to shoot someone, then in public is the way to go, because you can't torture the guy, obviously. But it would have been nice, too.
But that's also tough, too, because, you're also giving this man more years of his life that he doesn't deserve to live.
He was 75 when he died.
Yeah.
Which... is fucking old, even 1940s.
That's old for 1940s, yeah. You're lucky to hit 50.
He lived, that's what makes it so much more of a statement. Because at that point, it's like, well, fuck, that guy, I mean...
What, do you have 3 more years, back then?
How much power did he even have at that point? What's he doing, really? But
it was a protest. It was a statement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Had it not been, again, had he killed him at his house, it'd been like, you just killed an old man. You're snuffing out someone that's only has... But had it then... Because then... when he did it, it was impossible for the public not to know about it, because it was during a hearing or something. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, not that difficult, really.
Yeah,
and the cops were like, "How'd you fucking do it? Like, there had to been more people involved." It did not seem like it was that difficult.
No, I mean, he cut out the outline of the gun, cut it out of a book, brought the gun, and shot him in the chest.
Hardest part was finding a gun.
Yes, it was.
The planning was easy.
Again, and see, that was another thing, too, that they took these other Indian, British, dual citizens, I guess, is probably what it was back then. Or I guess you would just be a citizen of Great Britain. But nonetheless, they would take them. They made them sign... They made them sign false statements of I sold the gun, and then they executed those people on the side of the road.
Yeah, I know.
It's awful.
Don't sign anything.
No.
Do not sign anything.
If you didn't do it, don't sign it.
If you're in the minority group and someone's got to put a gun to you and be like, you're gonna let them shoot you there. Yeah.
Because it's gonna
Yeah, because the whole time they were desperate to find this huge cabal of people. They wanted it to be this huge, giant thing rather than... and because they wanted them to look as bad as possible.
And they also wanted to stay away from the 1919 massacre as well.
Yeah.
They didn't want to touch on that, and that being the reason why this man executed Michael O'Dwyer 20-something years later.
And just a little closure for you. In 2019, England came out and did not admit wrongdoing, but did say that they regret what happened.
So you regret what happened, but you don't apologize for it. Why don't you just man up and fucking apologize?
I know, who cares at that point? It was 100 years ago.
Jeez.
Yeah, so they came out.
I do want to talk about something, and this is actually what I kind of wanted to end on, because this is very interesting to me. There were some controversies with this film. You obviously know with, obviously showing the massacre and all this kind of stuff. But it's very interesting. The film was shortlisted among 14 other Indian films to be submitted for the 94th Academy Awards. And it was nominated for Best Foreign Film, right, category. However, it was not selected. The jury members, said the reason for it not being submitted was hatred towards the British.
Yes. Well, then they came and said it was the length.
Yeah.
Was why.
Right. And then they kind of countered with the length thing. But it's like, well, was it the length or was it the fact that this did not show Britain in the greatest of light?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's just a strange thing. For one, Britain does not have that much pull in the in the Oscars. I mean, if you're winning a BAFTA, maybe it's like, it's British, but you're not. The length thing, it can absolutely hinder the chances of winning an Oscar. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a film that's gone over 2 hour plus in a foreign film to win. So I do understand that, and I do understand the whole thing of like, well, we can't piss off. But there's been so many fucking films that have been nominated for Oscars that make Britain look really bad, including Gandhi, which was a movie that makes Britain look really bad. That was nominated for an Oscar. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's controversy nonetheless, but I don't know really what the real reason is. But
nonetheless,
fearing the British now.
Yeah, I know why. If anything, that's 100, 150 years ago at this point.
Yeah, they do not have that much say in the Academy Award. That's much more of a Western American kind of thing. So I do understand the length, but I don't understand it not being on the list. It's 14 films, and it was excluded, I think, in the list of 14 films to be nominated. So
yeah,
it's more. I mean, I feel like it's a film right up Westerners' alley, really, especially people that like history.
Yeah. It's got a very good review on Rotten Tomatoes as well. Only 16 reviews, but 94% fresh, a 99 audience score as well. So the people who saw this film really enjoyed it.
It doesn't feel like a Bollywood film at all.
No,
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's like that, because that can definitely distance some viewers, but this just feels like it feels like a film you'd see on the BBC or something.
Yeah, a historical drama.
Or on PBS or something, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I thought it was pretty good, though.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It gets it was a little boring at times, but it's a historical drama, and I like that kind of stuff, especially this time for 1919 to 1940. There's a lot going on in Europe at that time.
There is.
Even in this film, like in the background, you can hear like the whole time they're talking about Germany and being like, this Germany's getting a little wild out here.
This Hitler guy, we don't like him.
We're starting to think this guy might be kind of an asshole.
I think we're going to go to war.
It blows my mind, dude. England is just like, to be like high up in England, you must have been under so much pressure. Not only are you running one country, you were running 50 other fucking, the sun never sets on the English Empire. So they must have been under so much, and every country is on the brink of rebellion constantly.
Yeah, for sure.
You constantly having to send guys in there to massacre fucking crowds of people. It's a lot of pressure. But they loved it.
They did.
You love your craft.
By the time they reigned.
Yep.
That reign is no more.
Oh, thank God.
All right. Well, that is our review for Sardar Udham. If you guys like what you've seen here, please be sure to smash that like button, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification as we drop videos here every single day. Thank you so much for watching and listening. My name is Mason Knight. That is Cash Kraus. And until next time.
Bye.